right? So ultimately for me, it's a math equation. You know, I've always asked myself, would I rather be 100% owner of a $5 million company or 50% owner of a $100 million company? Because the only way you're going to give up ownership is to get capital that then you can invest to grow and become bigger. Finding the formula on how much you're going to give away for the capital that you receive, it comes down to a math equation. Because what you do, or what I have done so far, is you got to figure out what you're worth. What you think you're worth in the market. What you think and what the investors think are pretty different almost all the time. But what I found is you got to do a lot of homework. You got to figure out how other companies in similar industry as yours have financed and what kind of multiples and all that were in there. And then you got to find the investor who also believes in you. I got 2 term sheets with some investors, and we were way apart on valuations and what they wanted from an equity perspective. But my advice would be to persist. Not every investor is a perfect fit, but when you find the right one, they'll believe in your vision, they'll give you a square deal. It is not a low-risk investment for them, but they also know that if you have a plan, that hopefully it'll pay off. And then, you realize that you might give away 20% in this round, and then another 20% and all that, and you are getting diluted all along the way, but you're becoming a much bigger company, so your actual wealth that you're creating is growing. And then the second thing that I think is critical, capital's great, giving away equity for capital, that's the name of the game, but experience and expertise is equally as important. I did not want an investor who just gave me capital and said, good luck, I'll see you every year, keep you posted. I wanted someone who had experience helping companies grow, had seen a couple of the pitfalls along the way that that you could help me not repeat. So that's the other reason. You give up capital, or you give up equity not just for the capital, but also for the extra inputs and guidance and doors that they can. That's how I look at it. Yeah.
So you said your marketing is starting to work, which is impressive because middle market is really hard to get the attention. So what are some of the things that you see are working for you in getting that attention?
Yeah. So there's really 2 go-to-market strategies for us, and maybe we're fortunate the way our industry is set up. The first one, which is the one we're pursuing today, is through partnerships. We have several different tiers of partners that we can work with. These are companies like the ITEN e-commerce platform, where mid-market companies are going to them for their solution. And as they're solutioning their overall architecture, there will be a hole that we can fill, and then Salesforce, as an example, will introduce us to that customer, and so that's a way to get leads. There's another layer in that space called system integration vendors. There's dozens of them out there, some focused on enterprise, some focused on mid-market. And they also have a strong influence into how a company is going to organize their infrastructure and all that kind of thing. So we reach out to them, and we try to educate them on what our product does for their customer, what it does for them, help them with a better implementation so they have great reference customers and that kind of thing, and they can grow their business, and they bring us lots of business. And that's what we've been focusing on so far, because you only got to educate a few people, and then they can kind of be the funnel to bring them into you. What we plan on focusing on going forward is going directly to the end customer as well. And we don't have the magic formula for that. We really haven't even started strategies. What we're thinking is more presence at trade shows, more very targeted outreach, having a lot of content so when people are researching, they find us and they contact us. And we think that will be phase 2 after we get these partnerships secured.
How do you see your specific target market in terms of your competitive advantages?
Yeah. So the main players in our market today are enterprise solution providers. So these are companies that are either part of the IBM, Oracle, SAP world, or are offshoots of that world. And from a competitive advantage with them, you know, they're very process oriented, they're very buttoned up, but that comes with an extremely high price tag and an extremely complicated implementation. And for mid-market companies, that's a tough pill to swallow. So from a competitive advantage, we're more nimble. We've developed our software within the last 2 years, so we take advantage of all the modern ways of integrating systems and whatnot, whereas our competitors have lots of very rigid integration protocols. So we can be quicker, less costly than the enterprise levels. The other competitors are companies that are trying to bolt on or add on to another service that they provide in order management. And so it never quite works out of the box, and there's always lots of extra generations that you got to do. And we saw our market and we focused on it clearly. So our product is a little bit easier to work with out of the box. It requires less customization, and again, it gives us a competitive advantage against them. So those would probably be the main advantages for us. We are, here's the analogy of where we're at right now. I told this to my wife the other day. We are climbing Mount Everest. We clearly know where we want to go, and we know the path that we need to take to get there. That path is riddled with peril. One misstep, we could die.
Crevasse.
Yeah, crevasse, you name it. But we are on that path. And it's exhilarating some days. You know, you get to a peak, you see something up there that you think, wow, that could be the peak. And then you climb up there and you get up there, and you realize it's not a peak, it's just a base camp. But hey, you made it to another base camp, and that's really cool. My wife said the other day, well, how many base camps are there? I said, I have no idea. But we are going to keep climbing. So we're having a blast. It's hard. Some days you feel like you might die and you might freeze on the mountain. Other days you got perfect weather and you make a lot of progress and it's exhilarating and you know you're going to make it. I just think that's all part of being an entrepreneur at this stage of the
Dave, I guess your office here in town, and where do you have like a call center, so if there's a trauma on the social media side, how you respond to problems? Like,
Yeah.
Like the New Balance shoes being white supremacist type of situation.
Right. Our call center's right here, Jeff. He's available 24 hours a day if you have a service contract with us.
You still got New Balance?
We do. So
Are
our
you involved
business.
in the with the white supremacists for New Balance shoes?
So we enable businesses to better operate on the back end. We don't ultimately have that front end consumer
So
exposure.
you let the business kind of control that feedback?
The business handles all that kind of stuff. You know, we've tried to engineer our solutions so that even when if our solution goes down, and knock on wood, the engineering team is not allowed that to happen. We have lots of redundancy and lots of queuing. But yeah, we are based in St. Louis. We're down on Brentwood Boulevard, right across from Whole Foods and REI and the Joseph White Building.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you host to the cloud, so you don't, you worry about somebody taking over your site.
Yeah.
Attacks.
Yeah, you know, I could do a whole hour on security and hacking.
Now, you don't keep your stuff there, you already have to bandwidth and change over or something like that?
Yeah, we actually host everything in the cloud using Microsoft Azure cloud services. I'll give a plug out to them. They've been awesome. And yeah, we take advantage of their technology and a lot of their security bolstered with ours. And we have monitoring and that kind of thing. So it is something that's very stressful. For many years in the early stages, I literally hated when my phone rang because my brother never called me. So it meant that I was getting called from a customer and they were saying my site's down. But yeah, that's still a stress for us. We don't have to have a call center at this point. I think as we grow, that'll be something that
That's what got to go through.
That's right.
Is that why it's there, listening or something?
Yeah. Well, we go back to that picture from 2004. You can see the evolution of
It's
the
it, right.
Any other questions for Chris before we get him out of the hot seat? All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.